At night, the barbarians gathered in one place, dancing around a fire in celebration. They cooked food in a huge pot and distributed it among others. Ayan and Vikir sat on the side, wearing traditional hats. Ayan spoke about how the hunter who catches the largest prey receives the villagers' respect and admiration. Vikir, however, seemed indifferent, which led Ayan to criticize him for his lack of enthusiasm. She explained that the ox bear, being both strong and intelligent, was an honorable catch, making them the main figures of the pillaging ceremony. She compared the ox bear to a sluggish and scared boar, indicating the significance of their achievement. Ayan then questioned Ahan, who was standing beside Vikir, to support her point. Ahan in frustration handed a bowl to Vikir while referring to him as a slave. Vikir was confused about the small amount of meat in his bowl, and asked why he didn't receive more. Ahan replied that the amount of honor he gained was worth the meat he had received. Ayan clarified to Vikir that it was a tradition where the one who contributed the most to the hunt received the least amount of meat but gained a corresponding amount of honor. Ahan, in frustration, wished he could give Vikir more meat. Vikir pondered on the idea that becoming more honorable meant getting less meat, questioning whether the meat was better than such useless honor. Ayan chuckled, finding Ahan's sour expression amusing, clearly annoyed by his reaction. Vikir looked down at his hand and contemplated the 600 kilograms hammer that he had acquired from Beelzebub after catching the ox bear. He wondered if it was possible to increase his weight by 600 kilograms while holding his breath. He then drank the soup and realized that the skill was not all he had gained. After Beelzebub absorbed the ox bear, Vikir's body recovered significantly. Ayan, wanting to offer Vikir more meat, gave him a bowl filled with meat, explaining that it was a hunter's right. However, Vikir declined her offer as he had already received a portion of meat, a bowl of blood, and a portion of intestines. Ayan insisted that Vikir should eat the additional meat, emphasizing that he should consume different body parts according to his weaknesses. She encouraged him to eat it. She explained that one should eat eyes if the eyes are bad, eat the heart if your heart is weak, and if your limbs are weak, you eat its legs. Vikir looked at the bowl, questioning if the long thing in it was indeed the intestine and if his insides were that weak. Just then, 3 barbarian girls arrived at the scene. The first one scolded Ayan, calling her a commander and accusing her of looking after what was already hers. The second girl pointed out her transparent motives, and the third girl questioned why she would give anything to the slave. Meanwhile, Vikir continued eating the meat, finding it very chewy, and Ayan watched in excitement as he gulped down the meat. She then smiled and stated that now he would be able to fulfill his duty. Vikir kept chewing and wondered what more she expected from him, considering he believed he had done his part during the hunt. As the new morning arrived, Vikir stood near a large tree trunk whose top was cut. He noticed the tree melting a little, confirming what Ayan said the previous night. Last night, while he was standing near the tree trunk, he noticed that it was covered with lots of meat. He questioned Ayan about placing good meat there, considering the village was going through a food shortage. Ayan explained that the meat was an offering to Madame Eight Legs, and they sought permission to live in that dense forest. Vikir realized the significance of Madame Eight Legs and how reckless his actions had been. He understood the Balak villagers' behavior towards her and found her to be an annoying monster. Vikir, strolling back to his hut, noticed a long line of girls waiting outside. He was puzzled, wondering if there was another ceremony or some special event. The girls talked amongst themselves, expressing their eagerness to meet Vikir. One girl mentioned that she had been in line since dawn, while another was glad to be at the front end. A third girl proudly stated that she stayed awake the entire night. 3 girls stood together, discussing the possibility of becoming a commoner based on the results of yesterday's pillage. They speculated that a woman from the village might become Vikir's wife, considering his strength in hunting an ox bear. Just then, Ayan arrived after hunting a deer and scolded the girls for trying to take what belonged to her. She reminded them that she had given him the stew the previous day, and they had no right to claim it as their own. In response, the barbarian girls argued that Ayan should have used it herself and shared some with them. They called her stingy for keeping it all to herself. Ayan, clearly irritated, challenged them to set up their own trap and catch something similar. The girls explained that they had already gone out many times, even to the Empire's border, but found no one else like Vikir. Ayan, with an angry expression, suggested that there might be someone like Vikir in hell. The barbarian girls, frightened by her anger, ran away in fear. Ayan sighed, concerned that the cunning girls might take Vikir away while he was recovering. She fed him the ox bear's meat, so she felt the need to order him to carry out his manly duties. Suddenly, Ayan noticed Vicar standing there and stuttered, trying to hide her intentions. Vicar's face distorted as he realized what he had eaten the previous day. Ayan quickly changed the topic and mentioned that she had heard that last night, her mother had called for a meeting among the elders. She added that Vicar, as the honorable hunter of the pillage, would have the opportunity to request something from her mother during the meeting. She then advised him that when her mother called upon him, he should ask for the thing she was planning to suggest. Inside the matriarch's tent, the elders sat on one side while the young prodigies on the other. Vicar sat on his knees and bowed to the matriarch, greeting her respectfully. The matriarch acknowledged Vicar's accomplishment of catching an ox bear, expressing her gratitude for the good meat she had eaten. Vicar humbly replied that he only did what he had to do. The matriarch smiled and praised him, remarking on his quick recovery rate, which he credited to her care. Vicar observed the matriarch, the night fox, Aquila. He recognized that she was a genius archer who scared the people of the empire, despite leading the Balak tribe with less than 300 members. He saw her as dignified as Hugo, but she was also warm and soft. The matriarch expressed her desire to reward him for his contributions. She announced that due to his actions the previous day, she would change his status. Vicar was no longer considered a slave but a part of the Balak family. At that moment, an elder cleared his throat, and Vicar recalled that some elders were dissatisfied with his status change. Vicar observed the elder and recognized him as Ahuman, the Balak's shaman and Ahun's grandfather. The matriarch stood up and reaffirmed Vicar's new status as an official member of the Balaks. She invited him to share his desires, stating that even though she didn't give birth to him or raise him, she would consider his request as part of the family. She offered him the possibility of choosing a beautiful village maiden as his partner, and she would give her blessing. Alternatively, if he preferred not to have a partner, she was fine with him having a slave. Meanwhile, Ayan made hand signs, reminding Vicar of something she had previously told him. Vicar looked at her and closed his eyes. Vicar then stated that he had one request. The matriarch was intrigued and encouraged him to speak comfortably. Internally, the matriarch wondered why Ayan was signaling so urgently, questioning if she wanted him that badly. Vicar looked at the matriarch with confidence and expressed his desire to bathe in the hero's spring. The room fell silent as everyone present was shocked by his request. Only Ayan had a smile on her face. The matriarch gazed at Vicar with cold eyes, clearly taken aback by his request, and questioned whether he was aware of what he was asking for.